Disney gets Tapulous, Amazon goes woot, and the kin is dead. Rest in peace. Hello, I'm Evelyn Russley, and this is TechCrunch Now. On today's episode, we have Andy McLaughlin, and he is the co-founder of Huddle, and of course, Ryan Sweeney of Excel Partners. Thanks for joining us, guys. For people who don't know what Huddle is, what is Huddle?
So Huddle is a hosted project management and collaboration system. We make tools that are designed to help people connect, share, and work better together. And if the audience are guessing, yes, I'm not American, I'm from the UK. We recently opened up our first office over here.
And you recently raised about $10 million.
That's right, yeah. We announced about 2 months ago a $10.2 million funding round led by Matrix Partners, which is obviously very exciting.
Yeah, and maybe eventually a round with Excel. We'll see.
Geez.
So lots of deal news to talk about this Thursday. Let's kick it off with Disney's acquisition of Tapulous. Now, I don't know exactly how much Disney has paid for Tapulous, but Tapulous is not a huge company. The last round they raised was about $1.8 million from investors like Mark Benioff and Jeff Clavier, but this is a great strategic move for Disney. They've done some stuff similar in the past. For example, their recent investment in Playdom. So, you know, you play in this space. What do you think? Is this a good acquisition for Disney?
I think it makes a lot of sense for Disney. I think, number one, Tapulous is proven capable of navigating the smartphone and iPhone ecosystem. And I think that's an area where companies are starting to figure out. We need to be there. Smartphones are becoming the computers for most people. That's where they're spending all their time. So that's where the eyeballs are and the attention's being spent. Having talent and having a company that knows how to navigate that ecosystem is smart. And I think the content that Disney has, whether it be from their Marvel acquisition or their existing characters, just trying to figure out ways to get those characters in front of people on the smartphones just makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, Disney has all these pieces in place when it comes to video gaming. Like, and also you mentioned Marvel, right? But what do you think they can do in the mobile space? What do you think, Andy?
Well, I think this kind of fills a gap that they had. It fills a gap both in terms of the devices they can push content onto, you know, and the expertise to be able to do that. But I think it also fills a gap in terms of the age group they might look to target. You know, they have an amazing acquisition in Club Penguin. And I guess the question would have been, what happens when those kids grow up?
Yeah.
You know, what are they going to start doing? And so, you know, we've seen how viral these games can be. You know, and how quickly they can spread across the kind of age range that I guess they're looking to target. So I think it's a great move for them, and it's a great investment for Tapulous as well.
Mm-hmm. So. Ryan, what do you think is the value of their flagship property, Tap Tap Revenge? Obviously very popular, but you know, is it going to be popular in the next year or 2 years? I mean, what is the real value here?
Well, the real value is being able to cross-market your games. Mm-hmm. So if you have, I don't know what the user base is on Tap Tap Revenge, but let's just assume it's close to 1 million or so users. If Disney is then able to essentially create new games and get those users to try those games, I think that's really where this acquisition becomes popular. And you've seen that a lot in the social gaming space, whether it be Playfish or Zynga. What's really effective for those companies is when they build big user bases, they then can drive people to their other games in a very efficient manner.
Now, in other deal news, Amazon has bought Woot, a daily deal site, for a reported $110 million. But are they worth $110 million? What do you think?
Well, I guess it depends who you'd be asking. Are they worth $110 million to Amazon? Absolutely. You know, this is an area that Amazon has no coverage in whatsoever. Mm-hmm. It's an area that I guess, you know, they've been looking at for a while. And we know that big companies can't move anywhere as quickly as small, nimble startups. Had Amazon wanted to do this themselves, you'd probably be looking at a year to 18 months lead time. And this company, we know that they're doing great revenue. We know that it's probably, what, $40, $50 million a year. When you're talking about then the valuation of the company, you know, that adds up well. Yeah. I think it's a smart investment.
It seems like the infrastructure of a site like this, though, is really simple. I know you predict that it's about 12 to 18 months to market if Amazon wanted to do something like this in-house, but it seems like it could have been pretty easy for them and probably less than $110 million, no?
It depends. You know, I think it all depends on, first and foremost, how big the user base is at Woot, and I think they are buying a brand there. And if you look at it, flipping gears a little bit to Woot's perspective, what they're getting out of this is access to excess inventory.
There's lots of money.
Yeah, there's a lot of money, but there's a lot of goods on Amazon that they aren't able to sell. And what Amazon doesn't want to do is provide steep discounts for the goods that they're essentially signing up towards. So now they have an avenue to push these things through in this deal-of-the-day type framework, and I think it could make a lot of sense. And also, it's important. I think people like going to Woot, like buying from Woot. They like feeling that they're not going to Amazon and they're getting a deal elsewhere. So I think it would be very important for them to try to keep that separate and that different mind share.
It's all part of the user journey. You know, you want to make it so simple that people will go to a page and just see the one deal. I wouldn't want to have to go to Amazon, find the right tab and navigate through. Because Amazon is a fantastic storefront, but it is kind of complicated. So if there's still that one site where I know I can go and there's going to be a great deal every day, why not?
And that's the thing. I mean, people love to get good deals, and I think if Amazon can keep that mindset, it'll be a good acquisition for them. We've seen it through our investment in Groupon. I mean, people come back day in and day out, and they feel that they're getting good buys, and that the company is really looking at out for the consumer and trying to provide good products for them. Do
you regret not getting into Woot?
It's hard. I mean, I would say, and I think Groupon would admit that Woot is one of the companies that they modeled themselves after in this deal of the day type mentality. So I think it's a good company, and it would have been a good investment, but at the same time, we're pretty happy with the one that we wound up in.
You just closed a $20 million round with Modcloth. Can you talk about that a little bit and why you guys made that investment?
Sure. So Modcloth, for those of you who don't know, is a e-commerce site providing essentially clothing and accessories that are produced by independent designers. And for us at Excel, we've had a long-term thesis that we want to look for social commerce companies. We were fortunate enough to be early investors in Facebook and companies like Etsy, and it really started showing to us that you can achieve viral consumer growth by really embracing the social web. So we took a step back and tried to identify a couple companies that we thought were interesting, and two really stuck out from the rest. The first was Groupon, that we were lucky enough to invest in last year, and the second was Modcloth. And what Modcloth has done very, very well is build a strong community within the social web, so helps them attract customers at a very cost-efficient and effective manner. And then second, it really allows these guys to go out and let their community drive decisions. One of the most interesting things that Modcloth does is essentially allow their consumers to be the buyers. They put up different articles of clothing that they're thinking about purchasing as a company, and they let their consumers essentially be the buyers and choose, hey, we like that article of clothing, we think you should go buy that and really step up your quantities. So from a business perspective and an investment perspective, it really provides an effective means for inventory management, and that's something very unique within the retail world that we really liked and latched onto.
Where do you see their valuation at?
Today?
Yeah.
Undervalued. I think we got a great deal.
Do you want to give us any exact numbers?
I can't share that, but I would say, look, we spent a lot of time with the Modcloth team, almost 18 months getting to know them, and we think Eric and Susan Koger are uniquely talented entrepreneurs that we're very excited to work about, and we just see big things coming over the next 3 to 5 years.
So for Excel, any other plays in that e-commerce retail space, or where else are you guys looking to invest currently?
Well, so e-commerce and retail is always going to be a big category for us, so we're always going to be looking there, and particularly right now we're spending a lot of time on internet and e-commerce, but also within infrastructure software, and even starting to look at some financial technology type investments. So keep a look out. Over the next month, I think we're going to have a few interesting things to announce.
Very cool. Now, talking about interesting things, let's talk about the kin and the death of the kin. So after 2 months of a pretty aggressive ad campaign, it seemed like no matter where you were on the web, there was an advertisement for the kin. Microsoft has pulled the plug. The kin is dead. What do you think about that?
Well, I mean, if it is actually dead, then they should probably tell their advertising department. Because I saw an advert for it on Hulu last night after reading about the
It's kind of creepy.
demise.
It's like the ghost of the kin is still lurking all over the web.
It's kind of creepier than the guy they're using to advertise it, the one who's kind of going around snapping photos of his ex-girlfriend.
Now, what do you think went wrong here?
It's a tough market, and I think Apple and Android continue to gain market share and are putting out great products. And I actually, less cynical view, I applaud Microsoft for pulling the plug early. I mean, the worst thing you can do is see that something's not working and try to stick with it for years and years. So,
although we might see all the spare infantry on Woot.
That's exactly right. Yeah, I'm sure Amazon's buying it today. But I think it's a good move. It's not working. The mobile industry's tough, and I think Microsoft is having a hard time figuring out where they're going to play there. But
well, I think as well, they have Phone 7 coming out in the next 2 or 3 months.
And that's what they said. They said, we're going to put all of our resources into Windows, Phone 7, as opposed to this unique operating system that was for the kin.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of smacks a little bit of kind of poor planning on their part, I think, to have two completely separate OS systems running and try and launch them so close to each other.
Right.
I'm not going to talk about Google having both Android and Chrome OS. We'll see what happens then. That's going to be very interesting. But yeah, I think it's a brave move to pull it so quickly, and probably the right thing to do for them. Right. I think Phone OS will be interesting. The challenge they have is they still have a very loyal base of kind of business users that are kind of tied to using the kind of exchange synchronization. Obviously, with the ActiveSync being built into both Android and iPhone, a lot of people have migrated away, so they're going to have to build a really, really good product in order to keep people there.
Yeah.
Now, Ryan, you mentioned that the competition with iPhone and the Android phones is probably part of what killed the Kin, but it seems like that's something they should have thought about way ahead of time, right?
Yeah.
For me, at least, from my standpoint, it seems like they didn't know who to advertise it to. So it seemed like they were trying to target the hipster young kids, and they were trying to throw these flashy images. The Kin is cool, it's very graphic oriented, very social network oriented.
Yeah.
But they couldn't really deliver. I mean, it didn't seem cool, even though they tried. It's like they were trying too hard.
I guess it's a bit like Motorola as well. You know, they have the Moto Blur, which is kind of pulling all your social networks into one place. And it's like, yeah, it just kind of smacks of kind of trying a little bit too hard. You know, we've seen what works really well, and that's kind of dedicated apps where you have access to, you know, all of your social networks. You know, you have one for Facebook, you have a great one for Twitter, and if I want to use Facebook, I'll go to that. I don't particularly want to see everything blurred into one screen, getting mixed up.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I agree with you. It's a little bit gimmicky to try to advertise to the youth via social networks and the social web, and we're going to make it easy to access, because what what Apple has done very well is just produce a great product, and it's the best product out there. They don't need to tell people what's cool and what they should be thinking. They just say, this is the best product. Now you go figure it out via our apps and tell us what's interesting. And I just think it was a bit of a Hail Mary pass that Microsoft was throwing up there that didn't land.
With so much of the debate being dominated by Apple and the Android Google platform, is there any room for a Windows 7 or even, you know, the Palm version that will come out under the HP banner? No, yes.
Well, I mean, had you kind of asked the same question, I guess, you know, a year or two ago before Android came out, people might say, well, no, you know, there's such an amazing phone in the iPhone, and business is really covered by BlackBerry. Can there be a market for another OS? And Android's proven that there absolutely can. I mean, you know, there'll always be a market for something if it's really good.
It's good, yeah.
Yeah.
That, you know, that's the core of it. And if Windows team can build something that's great, people will buy it.
Yeah. Talking about mobile more broadly, what are you looking at, Ryan? What are the trends that are really interesting you today?
Yeah, so for us at Excel, I think the biggest thing is mobile security. As I mentioned earlier, we view the mobile phone and the smartphone as becoming the personal computer over the next kind of 5-10 years. So as a result of that, there's a whole new host of security issues that are going to arise. So figuring out antivirus software and ways to protect your mobile devices is an interesting area for us, and we actually did a venture investment.
When you say mobile devices, you also mean like tablets, like the iPad as well, right?
Tablets, yeah, iPad, iPhone, but it's really everything out there that you're taking with you on the go outside of your computer.
Any companies that we should be looking at, or that Excel might be looking at?
Well, no, we did a venture investment in a company called Lookout, so you guys, it was probably announced within the last month, and it's an interesting investment that we're excited about.
We'll certainly look out for that. That about wraps it up for TechCrunch Now. Our guest today, again, has been Andy McLaughlin of Huddle and Ryan Sweeney of Excel Partners. Thanks again, guys.
Thank you.